All right, Andy, thank you. As the police procession continues behind us, you can see the cars going, and as Andy mentioned, it definitely stretches at least 3 or 4 city blocks down there. I can't see the end of the line right now. So much support coming out for Patrolman John Wilding today. We're going to bring back in right now at this time Eyewitness News reporter Eric Dable. Eric Dable was, in terms of the mass, in terms of the service, the eulogy specifically, kind of gave us a little bit more insight. I know you've been speaking with family and friends this week, but to hear from Chief Graziano, to hear from some of his co-workers, just a little bit more insight into the type of man he was.
Yeah, we talked about with the chief weeks for the past week or so, just what a dedicated officer Patrolman John Wilding was. The chief echoing that here at St. Peter's Cathedral in his remarks this afternoon. Also, the mayor of Scranton speaking for just a few minutes, talking about how the city is supporting the family now left behind. Also, Captain Tom McDonald, who is one of the training officers here in the city of Scranton, he also spoke from a much more personal perspective, saying how this was the guy, he was the baby of the force, the rookie that they all knew, and they called him rookie, but saying that just in his short time with the Scranton Police Department, he taught them about compassion, about life, how to be a better officer. We want to play some of the sound from this morning's services here.
But it's not only how he died that make him a hero, it's how he lived. He was the epitome of what every police officer should be.
He was more than just a great cop. John was a family man. It is our solemn duty as Scranton police officers to make sure Kristen and her children are never forgotten.
Back live here on Wyoming Avenue. The procession has just wrapped up. You see a lot of people hugging. You do see some tears. A lot of these people may have known Officer Wilding, may not have. We also have some uniformed officers from other areas that weren't a part of the procession. They're also now leaving this cathedral area here, Tim.
You mentioned the tears. A lot of it, during the service, during the eulogy, some touching moments. But I think the big thing for me, Eric, was just at the end there, when his wife Crystal was standing there with her 2 young children. Just that moment. But you could take joy and comfort in the realization that she now has a larger family, the family of police that will be looking out for her and protecting her and looking out for their children's livelihood and well-being. And that's the important thing to take note. Again, this gentleman, Officer Wilding, he wasn't just a police officer. He went above and beyond in the job that he did, but also as a father and a husband, he sacrificed so much of himself. And I think that's the important part to remember today. He was more than a police officer. He did a great job on his job. You heard that so much today, but he was so much more. He was a family man as well.
Yeah, and you heard Captain McDonald kind of as he ended his remarks here inside this morning, saying it is our solemn duty now as police officers, as his brothers and sisters in blue, to make sure Officer Wilding's family is not forgotten. You know, this is a family that is suffering, unthinkable pain, unthinkable tragedy. Somebody who was in the prime of their life, taken away at such a young age by simply a head injury while on the job in the middle of the night. One of the eulogists remarked that he was up in the middle of the night so that the city, the people who were sleeping, could feel protected, something that they didn't even know. So that is an oath that moving forward here from today, people can remember. And also, just moving forward, it's tough to imagine how a family does that in these circumstances.
It is tough. It is somewhat, I guess, unthinkable in the moment. But again, a larger family now. She has brothers and sisters in the police. All the number that you've seen. The procession has now stopped behind us. Again, we're live outside of St. Peter's Cathedral on Wyoming Avenue in downtown Scranton. The police have gone. There is no graveside cemetery today. Everything handled at the church. That service wrapped up about 20 minutes ago. Started at 10 a.m., so just over 2 hours. We appreciate you joining us this afternoon within the course. This is Eyewitness News at noon, a special edition. We've been providing you coverage since 5 a.m. this morning. Just to give you a look, some people ask why, it's a funeral, it's private, but so many people care about this man. He did so much. We keep on harping back to the fact he was a West Side cop, but he really belonged to the entire city of Scranton, and they were the ones who were saying thank you, and they were the ones who were appreciating his efforts. So we tried to be as respectful as we could, but also say thank you in our own way as much as we could to appreciate his efforts and everything that he did.
Yeah, and one of the things that was dwelled upon time after time here this morning was don't remember Officer Wilding for how he died. Let's remember him for how he lived, a man with compassion, a man who had integrity, a man who knew his duty, which was to protect and serve. West Scranton is an area that is familiar to a lot of people, a lot of businesses. People walk there each and every day. This was also a man who walked the beat each and every day along North Main Avenue in West Scranton, who oftentimes would be there as West Scranton High School would get out, the businesses on Luzerne Street. John Wilding, even though he was just on the force for about 15 months, having become a police officer just April 15th of last year, he made a difference. They knew his name. The people who were in West Scranton knew that they could count on him if they had an issue, they had a complaint, they had a problem. That is what Scranton Police over the last 5 or 10 years have tried to get back to doing, become much more of a proactive community policing department, having those beat cops on the ground. So the loss and the sense of loss for John Wilding's death obviously will be felt here for some time to come.
It will be, Eric. If we just go back to you really quick, this is your beat, in essence. You cover Scranton. You're here every day. You work with a lot of the officers. You exchanged hugs and handshakes with many of them here. I guess just kind of describe the loss that they're feeling. Is it possible to put into words? Is it something that is just, it's part of the job? You understand that when you accept this position?
Absolutely. They always know in the back of their minds that they put on that uniform day in and day out, that this is a possibility. They accept that fact when they raise their hand and take the oath of office to become a police officer. But I can tell you, in talking to many of the men and women on this force, this has hit them especially hard this week. Talking to many of them at the viewing yesterday, they say this is the most difficult week we've ever had as a police officer. You could see the tears in their eyes, the hugs, the support. They're leaning on each other at this time and trying to find the sense of what will be the new normal for the Scranton Police Department in losing an officer like this. The city hasn't lost an officer since the 1980s. Officer Patrolman John Wilding, now the 13th city officer killed in the line of duty.
And we mentioned, we talked about the Pennypacker Monument earlier. His name will go on there as number 13. And it's important for something like that. People like Officer Wilding, they're the reason why the Pennypack Monument is here. People who are courageous, brave in what they do, very fearless in their defense of the city of Scranton. It's important to recognize and remember and never let those memories of those heroics die.
Absolutely. We talked about this was a guy who set himself apart. He was a man who dedicated his life, wanted to be a Scranton police officer, was the rookie guy. I talked to one of the secretaries in the police department yesterday, and she was saying, he was the baby, at 29 years old, but he made a difference. And the loss felt not only by the men and women in blue that you saw standing here in formation, but by the secretaries and the whole community, the city, the people he protected day in and day out.
I think that's why you saw so many people out. We referenced the mothers, the families, their children here waving flags on the side of the road, trying to do their part just like Officer Wilding did his part to protect the city. We want to thank you again for joining us for our special coverage. We've been bringing you the funeral of Officer John Wilding, a true hero for the city of Scranton. We can never say thank you enough. It will never do him justice for what he did, but we hope this little bit will help just enough to say thank you for everything. We will have much more coverage on Eyewitness News later in the day. For Andy Mahalchik, Eric Dable, I'm Tim Kelster. Thank you for joining us.